Hello and welcome to project number 2 of our September card making class. So this is the card we're gonna do, a little Thanksgiving card. I didn't stamp much on the inside simply because I don't really have a Thanksgiving saying, and I figured so you can just have a little bit more room to write in your own notes. So this is the card, lots of little sequins. So again, like I always remind you, if you pull it out carefully, because otherwise all your little goodies are gonna go flying everywhere. So the sequins we will deal with at the end, so we can pull those aside. You will have a couple pieces here, 2 stripes, a background. We have 2 phrases. We have a couple of branches, a little how do you call this, scalloped edge, and the base for our fin, and a little flag, and then we have a pumpkin. So the first thing we might want to do is cut out a pumpkin, and you can leave a little room if you want. You can go right up to the edge, it doesn't really matter. And the paper you see here, this is actually our new color called shortbread, and it's really pretty. It's not a cream, it's not orangey, it's not super yellow. It's really, yeah, it's a really nice warm fall color, and it goes great together with the new dark blue called Harbor, and this nice peachy terracotta orangey color called Papaya. So I just love this combination. So here we are, and always remember, don't rotate your scissor. You want to rotate your paper when you're cutting out. And here we are. There's our pumpkin. Okay, so let's start with the assembly. We're gonna make sure that the card opens the right way. In this case, it's an empty, because we're still gonna stamp something on the inside. And because those strips are so thin and my tape runner is wider than those strips, I like to use the liquid adhesive. It's just easier to deal with. Plus, when you have these thin strips, sometimes you need to move them a little bit, and this just makes it easier to do. Okay, and those go nice and flush, top and bottom, and to the left side in this case, and the other one goes to the right side. And again, we don't need a lot of, with these bottles, they're great. They give you a nice thin line. It's just, don't squeeze too hard, because then you get a big blob out. Sometimes mine, when they sit upright for a while, all the adhesive is on the bottom, so you just shake it down a little bit and you're good. Okay, now we have our pretty paper, and this kind of goes in the center of the base. So you have on either side a little strip showing of the new shortbread color. Make sure that, you know, your pumpkins are not all falling out of the sky, that you turn it around. And here we are. So it's about this much that shows. The nice thing when you use the liquid adhesive is you can move it over a little bit if you need to. But other than that, it should fit nicely on here. Okay, now we have our little flag, and in this case I made a very shallow flag cutout. And the way you do this is you take your paper, you determine where the middle part is, and you just go up, not all the way up, you just go a little bit up. as far as you want your flag to go. And then you go from this corner to the middle point. If you have bigger scissors, you can do this in one. And then you go from the other side to the middle point. And there's your flag. And since we have a little faux stitching around that one too, let's do this before we continue, because otherwise it's kind of hard. You have to go around all the leaves and everything else we put on there. So let's put the stitching on here. You can do a solid line if you feel more comfortable with. You can leave it completely off if you don't want to deal with it. That is up to you. But still try to use your hand if you do a solid line instead of a ruler. Because then you just have a really straight line, and we want to have it a little bit wavy, so it's not so uniform. Okay, here we go. And again, I'm gonna put some adhesive on here. And this goes in the center all the way to the top of the card. And this little piece has adhesive on the back, so you just peel it off. This is an old embellishment we used to have. They came in 12-inch strips in craft paper, and they were just awesome. I wish they bring them back, because it always made for a nice and easy decoration on cards and pages. Plus the craft paper, that neutral color goes pretty much with everything. Okay, so we are almost there. Now we have to figure out what to do with our little greeneries here. And the easiest way I found to do, so I want to put them like about here. And then cover them up. The rest is covered up with the pumpkin. So in order to get them on the paper the easiest way, I just put down a little bit adhesive here. And then in this case, we put the green one down here, put here. And the brown one goes on top. And we do the same thing on the opposite side, just in reverse. So, oops. I put my brown one first, and then put my green one on top. And if you handle the green ones, there are two sides. There's a lighter side and a darker side. I use the darker side, but it's up to you. If you like the lighter one better, use the lighter one. Okay, and this one is raised, so we're gonna use a couple foam dots. And again, this is such a nice and thin piece. We don't really need a lot of foam. So I just put a couple on here, maybe two in the middle, and that should be. Let's take the covers off. And you don't need a lot. Most of those elements that you will put on, they're so light, you don't really have to use a lot of these squares or dots, whatever you use. Okay, I want this to go up a little bit here, so about here is fine. Now we have to cut our little flags in the phrases. And actually, I think what I did was, yeah, I cut mine off, so it's a little bit long here, and then it looks funny. So just cut off a little bit, same as here with the happy. just cut off like this much, like 1/2 inch or so. I give you extra, but you don't need that much. And then we put the flag in. Same with the happy. Here we go. And these are also raised, so a couple more of our squishy things. So the long one gets 3, the other one gets 2. And let's see how far we can extend these. See, this one is a little bit long, but I have plenty of room here in the back, so I wanted to have the same spacing about here like the happy, so I just cut a little bit off. That makes it look better. Okay, so one goes here, the other one goes about here. Let's remove the backing. Put it flush with this side. And the nice thing, if something is not, this one looks like it's a little off, but with those foam dots, you can always lift it up carefully and replace it. There you go. That looks better. Okay, last but not least, we have to add our little sequins, and you can do this with the liquid glue, but the easiest way I found is to use glue dots. So here's where my glue dots start, and I always start with the big sequins. First. So I push them down on my glue dot and then I peel them off, and you just have to make sure you take the adhesive with you, and then I just place them on my card. Sometimes they're really sticky. Push one down here and one is underneath here. About here. And then the little ones, that's a little bit trickier because sometimes these glue dots are too big. So if you have glue dots that are too big for these tiny little ones, and some of them even, so this is a medium size, but you can see how big it is. I just try and cut mine in half. And you have to be careful because things get stuck on your scissors sometimes, and then I just fold them together a little bit so they get smaller, and then I take my tiny little sequins and push them on here, and squish everything underneath, and then it should work. And if there's something sticking out, just use your nail or something, you tip of your scissor and push it in. Let's do the other one. That's about here. And one last one. If you get stuff on your scissor, I show you in a second how you can get rid of this. There are smaller. These are the small size dots, but there are also tiny ones out there which are a little bit better. So if you can find those are even better. So these are the small ones, and then actually there's one that's called the tiny. So, and just a quick, so I got adhesive here on my scissors, and I just use my adhesive remover. That's the same one you use on your paper when you get too much adhesive somewhere. And I'm just going over the edges and clean my scissors that way. I have to do this in the air here. Normally I do this on my desk. Okay, there's a little bit more. And here we go. So nothing is sticking anymore. So these things, and then when you get these little gooey balls here, I once in a while just pick them off and just toss them. But this is a lifesaver. If you don't have a remover for adhesive, this is the way to go. Okay, so we're pretty much done on the outside. Now let's look on the inside. So this is the inside of my card. So what we did here was we just stamped a little gore and a shortbread, and that's the stamp. And that stamp is from our new set, Pumpkin Spice Scrapbooking. And here's our little gore, and there's some cute little other elements on there which we will use on another card at one point in time. So shortbread. When you use the stamp for the first time, make sure you season it. I always just rub it on my skin, or you can just take your cleaner and wipe it off, but skin usually works. Sometimes there are oils on it. Normally we would put our cushioning underneath, but I'm showing you that, let's see if this happens too. Okay, so you go up and down with your stamp, and I show you something. So you normally would go straight down and straight up. Now if I kink it a little bit, I might not get the full impression of my gore here. Let's see, but that looks like I got the whole thing. Let's try that. So I ink it up again, and purposely I will remove a little bit of the ink down here. So if you ever fail to get the whole image, then you should just put one in between or behind. So I just, in this case, rubbed some of the ink off. What happened yesterday in class was that somebody stamped and there was like a little piece of the stamp here missing. And instead of trying to go over it again, we just inked it up and put the gore falling over to the side, so they're looking like they're behind each other. So if this ever happens to you, easy fix. Okay, so this is all the stamping we do today. And then all I did here is with a glitter pen do a little squirrel. Oops, going off. And I think I need new glitter pens because they seem to be getting a little lighter, but that's okay. And this is all. And here we have another cute little Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed card number 2, and stay tuned for 2 more to go. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.